Good morning, good afternoon and good evening from wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to week number 4 of season number 6 of the W12 Sprint Series. And as you can see, we have landed at Brands Hatch Circuit with the TCRs. What a combination this is. Definitely one that I was looking forward to the moment it was on. As you can see, this track 3.89 kilometers long at the moment, a track temperature of 22 degrees centigrade, and of course located in the United Kingdom in Kent at an altitude of 131 meters above sea level. Of course, we are using the full Grand Prix circuit. It would be quite some chaos, I would say, with the amount of drivers that we have here this evening. Less than normal, but still quite a lot. 22 drivers we have here with us this evening. So that is loads to keep an eye on, and we're going into qualifying immediately. Well then, as always, qualifying will be one of the most important things they'll do this evening. We're looking with Hugo Zasse. There he is in the Kazakh livery. Now, don't get confused. These Kazakh cars actually have 2 liveries now. And only one, but they have 2. And one of those liveries is the livery that you're seeing on your screen at the moment. Let me try and find the driver from Kazakhs that is not using that livery. Marek Jordanowski, no, he's using that livery too. Florian Stadtmann, there he is, in the beautiful artwork livery. I had a chat with Mirko before this race, and it is quite a special livery. It's not the livery that they will use from now on, no, it's just a livery to give them a little bit extra of a choice of options. So this is one of the liveries that the Kazakh guys will be using this evening. Let's go back to Hugo Zasse. Stay on board with him for a qualifying lap. This is what you can see. Alright then, on board with Hugo Zasse. Coming down into Paddock Hill Bend. What a corner this is. Down into 4th gear in the Audi. Up to turn 2, brake just under the bridge. Back into 3rd gear, not back into 2nd. Some drivers take 2nd, some drivers take 3rd. It also depends which car you're in, but that is an off track for Hugo, and he will not complete that lap. Let's go to Marinko Jordanovski. See if he can complete this lap. We pick it up in turn 3, just past turn 3, the left-hander downhill. Turn 4, another left-hander, long left-hander, off camber. And it becomes on camber here on the exit. Of course, this is something that, a combination that we've never had. We've never been at Brands Hatch before with the W12. Let alone with the TCRs. It is quite the combination. I have been driving. I've been lucky to drive one of these TCRs myself. It's the Honda Civic Type R TCR car. There's also the Hyundai Elantra and the Audi RS3 LMS. Marinko Jordanovski. So many people in the Audi car of choice, it seems like. Mirko Bortolotti is in the Honda, but Marinko Jordanovski across the line for the Kazakh driver. What time is going to be? He's going to set the benchmark. It's going to be a 1:34.32. That gets immediately beat by Gustavo Xavier in the Hyundai. But I'm intrigued to see what these Hondas can do. So here is Mirko Bortolotti. He's only now going to start his lap. He's waited till the end. Well then, it's looked like quite a tidy lap for Mirko Bortolotti here so far, the Italian. He still has the Platinum TCR Championship decal on the car. That is quite a while ago. I remember commentating on him back when he was driving that, of course. That is also already almost more than more than 2 years ago almost. Time flies when you're having fun. But Mirko Bortolotti, is time flying for him too? Or is he once again going to prove why he is leading the championship? 1:33.773. That's what Mirko Bortolotti puts down. And that is the provisional pole position with about 25 seconds to go. I don't think anyone's going to be able to change anything about it. That might be Mirko Bortolotti doing what he needs to do. And that's put that car on pole position. The Honda Civic Type R is going to see a pole position with 5 seconds to go. I don't see this changing. And the 92 of Mirko Bortolotti is once again on top in qualifying. Well then, let's have a look at the grid then for this first race, setting the pole position. In P1, it's Mirko Bortolotti, then Yannick Wonnenberg with an incredible P2, only a 10th behind Mirko Bortolotti. Ivan Ferrari in P3, Walter Lux P4, Jens Fiedler P5, 6th for Dennis Richter, Jan Lins in 7th, Christian Ablasser 8th, 9th for Michael Dörlinger, Hugo Zasse, then Christoph Steiner. Rounding off the 11-strong field they have here this evening. Waiting for drivers to get to the grid. Waiting for the Honda Civic Type R of Mirko Bortolotti behind him. There's actually another Honda Civic Type R of Ivan Ferrari. Next to him is another Honda Civic. We have a good spread of manufacturers, but Audi is definitely the most apparent one in the field. There's Mirko Bortolotti. Well then, we're waiting for the 5 red lights to come on. And there they are. The 5 red lights on the gantry.
Green flag, green flag.
And they're out of racing at Brands Hatch. A good start from Mirko Bortolotti alongside him. It was, I was going to say Yannick Wannenberg, but that is not the case anymore. He has a terrible start. The 82 of Ivan Ferrari coming through. It's now 2 Hondas at the lead. Yannick Wannenberg in Hyundai. Elantra, he's coming through the field as well from that terrible start he had. Behind him is Walter Lux, then Jens Fiedler into P5, Dennis Uli Richter in 6th. Shoving him out of the way basically there. Hugo Zasse not allowed any room there. Had to get off, had to get out of the throttle for Christian Ablasser to fit through. Dennis Uli Richter, the number 25. Christian Ablasser on the outside for Dennis Uli Richter. That's not where you want to be for the right-hander. And he's going to have to give that up. The inside still up for Hugo Zasse. Has a look, can't quite make any move stick. And that is way too deep from the both of them. Hugo Zasse goes through and takes that position from the both of them. And that is incredible driving. That is what being patient gets you. You don't have to rush that overtake all the time. Being patient, still getting the overtake in the background though. Christoph Steiner nearly avoids a crash with Dennis Uli Richter. My oh my, that was quite the crash. Here we go, we're gonna have another look at that. This is where it happened in the beginning. He goes in way too hot, follows the Audi in front of him. And then we continue around the outside to the chopper cam we go. Here's then Uli Richter. The inside for him, is there contact? It looks like, there's net code involved. My oh my. Well, even though it has a student livery or a student driver livery on the car, that was unfortunate for him. Nothing that I think the both of them could have done there. It was net code involved, but however, Mirko Bortolotti at the front of the field, about a half a second gap to Ivan Ferrari. Building on that lead. Ivan Ferrari has Yannick Wannenberg behind him in the background. It is Jens Fiedler going wide, another position for Hugo Zasse, same corner, a lap after. Christoph Steiner once again. Through the right-hander, a bit difficult in that Motul livery. Mirko Bortolotti, gap still about half a second. It's difficult though at the front of the field to try and run away with things. Pretty much impossible if you ask me. Mirko Bortolotti is proving that it isn't at the moment. Keeping that gap about where it was before. Left here in this race. Gap about 0.8 of a second. And that's all through the first sector for Mirko Bortolotti. That gap was down half a second coming into the first sector. Walter Lux. Background on the bumper of Yannick Wannenberg. Could be a Honda 123 here. If Walter Lux gets past Yannick Wannenberg. on the livery car. White flag is out, as you can see on the left-hand side of screen. Barney waving the white flag. Mirko Bortolotti at the front of the field once again. You can see that gap come down to about half a second at the beginning of the lap. Battles have slowed down. Further back in the field, Jens Fiedler on the back of Hugo Sasse. Hugo Sasse, who's had quite the race. Let's be honest. He's seen about 4 cars go off ahead of him, and he's taken all 4 of those positions. And that's all you need to do, really. If he can keep that P5, because remember, this is for a direct place in the feature race. Not having to do that consolation race. That's important. Hugo Sasse round the final corner. He's going to take that 5th place. Mirko Bortolotti to the line. He's going to take the checkered flag first. Hugo Sasse comes through to finish an incredible P5 for him. And he's through to the feature race. An uphill start there for Mirko Bortolotti. Well, these cars are not that difficult to start. I know how to start that Honda myself, luckily. And it's not much more difficult than just putting the car in neutral. After that, put it to full revs, dump the clutch, and you're good. As long as you don't have any steering angle input, you should be fine. Here we go, here's the grid for the next race. Jeroen Berg starts on the pole position ahead of Robert Hega. Then Gustavo Xavier, Mariko Jordanovski, Ben Buurnagel, Florian Stadtmann, Stefano Pellegrino, Jens, Jonas Greif, Ben Green, Maximilian Paul, and Davy Uwema. That is gridding done.
Green, green, green.
To the grid we go, the 5 red lights are off, and we're underway. Jeroen van den Berg, the Dutchman, gets off to an incredible start, and is almost sure of a P2 if he can keep this lead at the front of the field. Robert Hega, he overtook Marinko Jordanovski, who himself, of course, gained that 1 position of Gustavo Xavier. Gustavo had a terrible start. It's either you have a good one or you have a bad one in the TCRs. And well, it seems like Gustavo Xavier this time struck the luck of the bad starts. Florian Stadtmann is the driver ahead of him that he needs to overtake if he wants a direct spot in the feature race. The inside is for Marinko Jordanovski, Robert Hega on the outside. Gets pushed quite a bit by Marinko Jordanovski. There was a little bit of a touch, but the 2 of them survive. Around the outside goes Ben Buurnagel in the Hyundai. He climbs on to the podium. But already a minute out in front for Jeroen van den Berg. Or a second out in front, excuse me, for Jeroen van den Berg. Gustavo Xavier's got up into 5th. Now that's an effect from both Kazakh drivers behind them. Ben Green and Florian Stadtmann, they're going to go side by side into the right-hander. That won't work, and indeed it didn't. Had to go through their single file, 1 out to give. Maximilian Paul in the background as well with Davy Uwema. Stefano Pellegrino has dropped all the way off. Davy Uwema back in the field, not enjoying these TCRs. It looks like Ben Green into the pit lane. That's not something you should usually do in these heat races. Maximilian Paul up into 7th now. He's gained 3. And he's about to get another one on Florian Stadtmann. Up the inside he goes. And he makes it stick. What a move from Maximilian Paul. In the background, David Ehrman once again struggling. Not his car, it looks like, at the front of the field though. 1 second, over 1.5 seconds almost for Jeroen van den Berg. But went a bit too deep, made a bit of a mistake into the left-hander. Now has to give up almost half of the time that he'd gained over the laps. That has brought Marinko Jordanovski right back into it. This could be Marinko Jordanovski his first front row start in the feature race here in Server 1. Of course, remember that in Server 2 we still have the reversed grids. Ortega in the purple and black car behind that, trying to make amends on Marinko Jordanovski. Both of them, however, are catching up to Jeroen van den Berg at the front. Half of the race already done. Ehrman on the back of Jonas Greif. As said so many times before here this evening, Dave Ehrman is not enjoying these TCRs. Usually a very quick driver, but not on these TCRs right now. It isn't the easiest car to learn front wheel drive, which is what most people don't like. Glowing brake discs at the back of the car on the rear axle. You don't really use your front brakes that much. If you run the stock setup, which of course is the case here. What most people usually do is try and put some brake bias forwards, because having so much brake bias acting on the rear wheels isn't the greatest thing for turning, let's put it like that. Makes the car so understeery. Jordanovski gap back up to about a second, going into Paddockle Bend. The white flag was out. That means that this is the last lap of the race, so that also means that Jeroen van den Berg, if he doesn't do anything crazy, has this one in the pocket. Marinko Jordanovski will have to defend from Robert Hega, who tries to make his move up the inside. That was a late dive from the 33. But that was just enough to try and put Marinko Jordanovski off. He knows now that he's there. He knows that he's going to have to watch his mirror. And that was exactly what the number 33 of Robert Hega needed. The inside once again left open. That was a bit ambitious, I have to say, from Robert Hega. And that in turn hasn't worked out. I would say he has about 2 opportunities left. That's into this left-hander where you can't really dive, and then into the last corner where you can't neither outbrake someone really. So if you can get a good exit onto the straight, maybe that's where you can get him. A good exit here for Robert Hega. That's what he will need, and he has a good exit. Compared to Marinko Jordanovski, Jeroen van den Berg's going to win this race. A drag race to the line. But it's going to be Marinko Jordanovski who gets it. On the back end of the top 5, Maximilian Paul is the last one to put himself in the feature race immediately. Here come Ben Green and Stefano Pellegrino. Well then, that was that. Let's have a look at the grid for the consolation race. Jens Fiedler's going to start on pole. Ben Bühnagel second. Christoph Steiner third. Florian Stadtmann, Jan Linz, Jonas Greif, Michael Dörlinger seventh. Davy Oma, then Christian Ablasser and Ben Green rounding off the top 10. Dennis Uli Richter in 11th, and last on the grid is Stefano Pellegrino, the Italian, looking to make up positions. Here we go then. 5 red lights on the gantry. A minute short.
Green flag.
And they've gone out. Not the best start at the front of the field for Ben Bühnagel. Jens Fiedler gets a better start. However, the second phase of acceleration, that's where Ben Bühnagel was really strong. The inside though for Paddlekill Bend. That is what's going to get Jens Fiedler that position at the moment. The inside for turn 2 as well. Now he has to watch out that Florian Stadtmann doesn't try and come through as well. There's contact in the background, and that is between Ben Bühnagel and Christoph Steiner is going to get through. Michael Dörlinger together with Ben Bühnagel had contact. Oh, there's contact in the background as well. Jonas Greif has gone round. Started 6th and is all the way down to P12, and Pete last on the grid for the feature race at the moment. It's going to be 3 wide into the right-hander. That's this what works. Someone has to give. And that's on the outside, but I told you it wouldn't work. Stefano Pellegrino. Contact with Dave Huema. And luckily these two know what to do when there's contact in a TCR. When you're spinning a TCR. Stick that throttle all the way to the floor. Turn in the opposite direction. Put some opposite lock. And you'll be fine. As long as there's no wall nearby. Once again, the fighting continues at the front. At the mid-pack on the field, Michael Dörlinger trying to make his way around the outside of Jan Linz. That's not going to work. It's 4 out. He's line astern at the moment. Christian Ablasser in front of it. Jan Linz once again under attack. This time Ben Green coming through. That just about works out through Paddlekill Bend. The inside for Ben Green trying to defend, in turn attacking as well. Jan Linz can see it all kicking off behind him, but he's not involved in it. Neither is he gaining time though. So that might be a sign of the guys behind him, and especially Ben Green being quick in. He's going to try and make his way around the outside of Jan Linz. Can't do it, has to slot in back behind. Christoph Steiner, here he is on the podium at the moment in this consolation race. That would give him a single point. Ben Bühnagel will get 2 in the 911. And Jens Fiedler, ahead of that, will get 3. Battling between Ben Green and Jan Linz. Jan Linz on the outside, Ben Green out to the inside of him. That was not exactly how I think Ben Green had that in mind. But it's working at the moment for him. Takes the inside for Paddlekill Bend. He's through, but it's a bit deep, and he goes off. Jan Linz back through into P5. Ben Green has only himself to thank for that. Huema, once again, it's not been his first server in these TCRs. Jens Fiedler out at the front of the field. There's the NASCAR ticker. Got that working. Finally 1 minute left here. Fiedler has about a second of a gap, a little bit less. Best part of his second heat. Well then, coming through the final corner after a successful consolation race, Jens Fiedler will start P11, Ben Buhnagel will start P12, they win and come second respectively. Christoph Steiner holds on to P3 with a quick charge in Christian Ablasov behind him, but it was a little bit too late, I think. We're not under checking flag, are we? No, we're not. The white flag was out. The clock added 0 once we came past start finish, but we have decided to add another lap to it. Jens Fiedler still has that one more lap to go, but I think with that 1.5 second that he has at the moment, should be fine. Ben Green and Jan Lins once again side by side. The last time these two were side by side, then the drama for Ben Green. This time though, he hopes not to do so. The outside for the right-hander for him. Squeeze into the inside. Oh, the two have contact. That's less than ideal, let's put it like that. Once again, one of the cars goes off. But Ben Green this time, however, does remain in front of him. The last corner, once again though, this time is a prey for Jens Fiedler. And Ben Buhnagel will finish in second. Christoph Steiner does hold on to a quick charging Christian Ablasov. Danny Ule Richter in fifth, Florian Stadtmann in sixth, Ben Green in seventh, Jan Lins in eighth, ninth for Davy Ehroma, 10th for Michael Dörliger, 11th, well, couldn't quite get to that. Well, we have a 2-minute warm-up now that we can get a little bit of rest in, and then we'll go into the feature race. Well then, that's the grid then for the feature race. We've had our heat races and our consolation race. Let's take a look at the grid. Mirko Bortolotti will start on the front row. Jeroen Berg in P2, Ivan Ferrari P3, Marinko Jordanovski P4, Yannick Wonnenberg in 5th, Robert Higa 6th, Walter Lux 7th, Gustavo Xavier in 8th, Hugo Zasse 9th, Maximilian Paul in 10th, Jens Fiedler 11th, and Ben Buhnagel in P12. Further on then, in P13, it is Christoph Steiner, Christian Ablasser 14th, Dennis Richter is 15th, 16th, Florian Stadtmann, Ben Green 17th, Jan Lins in 18th, Davy Eulman 19th, Mikkel Döllinger 20th, Jonas Greif in 21st, and Stefano Pellegrino in P22. Well then, after what we've seen in the heat race and the consolation race, this definitely isn't one to be afraid about. The action is going to be top notch. The 5 red lights are on.
Green, green, green.
And they're out. Mirko Bortolotti from the front row. Yannick, Jeroen van den Berg gets a great start and he jumps Mirko Bortolotti off the line. Those Audis are known for their starts. The outside also for Ivan Ferrari. But Mirko Bortolotti successfully fends that off. The inside still though for turn 2. This gives Jeroen van den Berg a chance to break away the Dutchman. This is what he needs in that Audi. Because Mirko Bortolotti is so unbelievably quick that you can't really give him a chance or he will take it. In the background, I think that is Ivan Ferrari off. It was Ivan Ferrari. He now has this whole train behind him. Marinko Jordanovski trying to get through. Walter Lux behind him. Walter Lux to the inside of Marinko Jordanovski. He gets through. It's not usually a place where you try and dive up the inside. It's quite a quick corner. So are all 3 of them really here at Brands Hatch in the middle sector. But he's going to make it stick. Walter Lux down to P7. However, though, he's not giving this one up, is he? These two have been side by side for almost nearly half a lap now. Yannick Wonnenberg still not giving this one up the outside. Now, though, for Walter Lux, is this a corner where you can carry around the outside? You would say it isn't. But Walter Lux at the moment is making everything a corner where you can carry it round. Marinko Jordanovski, surely you're not going to make it 3 wide here, are you? Yes, he is. Puts his nose in there. And once again, Yannick Wonnenberg is going to have to fight for it. Still side by side for Walter Lux and Yannick Wonnenberg. This is an incredible fight between the two. When is Yannick Wonnenberg going to get that position? Well, the answer is now. Whilst they were side by side for almost nearly a lap. Contact between Marinko Jordanovski and Yannick Wonnenberg. And that leads to Yannick Wonnenberg having to drop back down the field. Jordanovski trying to drive around Maximilian Paul now through in the 71. Excuse me, I think that was Maximilian Paul in the Audi that he had a fight with. These two cars look incredibly similar. Trying to make his way through the field. He's up 1, up 6 though for Ben Green. Almost into the top 10 already. Remember, we do have to make pit stops in these cars. They will be quite short. There's not a lot of fuel you have to put in these TCRs. They're quite fuel efficient cars. For how fuel efficient a race car can be. Zasse just made his way through on Jens Fiedler, who in turn decides to drift paddock hill bend. That was save of the race so far for me. Save of the server even. My oh my. Jens Fiedler, is this it? I think it is. Look at that. Drifts it into paddock hill bend. Wow. For our listeners, he was about 45 degrees almost. I think even more than that, sideways. almost 90 degrees sideways there going into the corner. And he still managed to keep it going. That's the power of the front wheel drive. That's why a road car these days is front wheel drive and not rear wheel drive. Because once you get to slippery conditions, rear wheel drive gets tricky quite quickly. Break. Oh, we're making pit stops already. There we go. Back to live pictures. Jeroen van den Berg, here he is. Still Michael Bortolotti behind him. Mistake there from Jeroen van den Berg that has allowed Michael Bortolotti to catch right back up to him. This is for the lead of the race, the outside for Bortolotti. He's not going to get it though. Bortolotti. It's watching the Daytona 24 Hours, of course, that he competed in. It's going pretty well. Of course, it's all decided in the last 20 minutes at Daytona, with the safety car playing a part there all the time. Staying on the lead lap is just what you need to do for the first 23 hours and 30 minutes. And really, they were doing that until, of course, a radiator problem with their Lamborghini set them back. I think about 8 laps or so. Well, if you lose 8 laps at Daytona, at any race really, trying to get that back is near on impossible. So from that point onwards, it was just showing some pace in the car, trying everything they could to get those 8 laps back, but in the end, of course, it wasn't to be. 8 laps is a deficit that not even the best of the best can make up, as we've seen. Bortolotti not being able to, together with his teammates, to make up that lost time. Of course, the GTD class overall won by the number 57, Winrig Racing Mercedes. For people who have missed it, go and look back at it. Probably find it somewhere on YouTube. It was quite an incredible race. And as always, it came down to the last couple of laps in the GTP field as well for the overall victory. Robert Hega trying to chase these both down. Michael Bortolotti is strong in his fuel usage and his pit stops. So that's where he could gain some time. Back in the field, Christian Ablasa in the Rebellion liveried Audi. Of course, Rebellion, quite some time ago now, a feature in the top class at Le Mans. That is quite a while ago already. Always came to Le Mans with some striking liveries, such as this one. Pretty simple, It's still so impressive. Dennis Sully Richter is on the back of Davy Eoma. Davy Eoma has been struggling this whole evening so far. Dennis Sully Richter has made his pit stop. Davy Eoma hasn't. So it's important for Dennis that he gets past Davy as quick as possible. But Davy is doing an incredible job at the moment. Even though he doesn't like this car to keep Richter behind him. Maximilian Paul in the background. He's catching up to Dennis Ulrich, of course, has made his pit stop. Dennis now at the inside of Davy Eoma. Davy does fight it around the outside and he keeps his car there as well. Remember, this was a man who couldn't even get through turn 2 properly at the start of the evening. He's now fighting the provisional leader of this race. After having made the pit stop, a bit of contact there between the two. And then he has to give up, but it's once again a sign to how quickly Davy Eoma was able to learn this track and car combination. Jeroen van den Berg at the front of the field, still ahead of Mirko Bortolotti. Mirko still doing everything to save that little bit of fuel. Inside now for Jeroen van den Berg. Once again, this is for the lead. Mirko Bortolotti with a switchback at Dreams. My goodness me, Jeroen van den Berg, you have just been done, my friend. My oh my, that was a switchback at Dreams for Mirko Bortolotti. My goodness me. Well, that is already the overtake of the season for me. I don't think anything is going to be able to top that. Mirko Bortolotti, take a bow, son. You have to go on board with Mirko Bortolotti. Left hand side, he breaks early. And that, ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw there is a switchback of Dreams. Once again, we're going to look back at it, this time from the chopper cam. Look at this, braking early. Switch back at Dreams, baby. My oh my. The man at this point is just flexing on the competition. But now the question is, when will we make the pit stops? Does Jeroen van den Berg know more than Mirko Bortolotti does? Mirko Bortolotti now able to stretch that lead to about a second already. Jeroen van den Berg has to watch out, because even though he might be saving fuel, that gap gets too big. Doesn't matter how much fuel you save in a race, you'll never be able to overtake him. Mirko Bortolotti bringing a surprise attack to Jeroen van den Berg. Mirko Bortolotti probably coming in this lap. The setup is made in such a way that you have to make a pit stop. Will he come in now? That's the question. And yes, he will. Looking at the body language of that car, he will. Mirko Bortolotti, once again, Getting the pit entry perfect. Ivan Ferrari follows them in. These three will stay at the front of the field. And with about 4 minutes to go, the best part of 4 minutes, Mirko Bortolotti gets out of the pits, and that's what I mean. He's so strong strategically. He also had to, because look at that, Robert Hega has honestly come out of nowhere. He pitted a lap before. And if Mirko Bortolotti didn't spring that surprise attack, didn't do that switchback on Jeroen van den Berg, then they would have now both been behind Robert Hega by quite some margin as well. Mirko Bortolotti gained about 2 seconds in that pit stop phase. And that's an easy 2 seconds, really. Just by being able to drive a bit more fuel efficient. But here is your leader, Mirko Bortolotti. Closely followed now by Robert Hega. Robert Hega flashing his lights. Robert, stop it. There's no need for that. He just wants to distract him with flashing his lights. Making Mirko look in his mirror. Robert Hega looks quick here, ladies and gentlemen. We could have a fight to the finish here between these two. This could well be not as much of a walk in the park for Mirko Bortolotti as he might have dreamed of. He will get the white flag next lap. Holding coming through. 0.4 of a second. Robert Hega is pushing Mirko Bortolotti here. The leader of the championship under pressure from Robert Hega. He's proven to be quick already this evening. Took a little bit of a different strategy to compared to the top two. But it has all worked out to come together now. And there's the white flag one more time. Down the front stretch into Patakil Bend. The number 33 of Robert Hega on the gearbox of the 92 Mirko Bortolotti. Mirko goes defensive into turn 2. Robert Hega tries to make his way around the outside. That's not going to work there, my son. Gets a better exit than Mirko Bortolotti. Once again, makes him defend the inside. A better line for Robert Hega, the exit there. That's what's going to be crucial. This is one of his opportunities, one of his last opportunities. The outside shown by Mirko Bortolotti. Robert Hega can't make his way around the outside, can he? No, there's contact between the two. Robert Hega virtually pushing Mirko Bortolotti through the corners. Robert Hega's quicker here, but Mirko Bortolotti has to hang on for a couple more corners here. The outside once again for Robert Hega. These two, I have a feeling, are going to make it a drag race to the line. Mirko Bortolotti keeps his position once again, has to defend the inside. The switch back, a little bit of a dummy by Robert Hega, and he dummies himself by losing a bit too much time, and I think that was his last opportunity, really. Look who's that brought back into attention. That's Jeroen van den Berg. If these two do anything crazy, Jeroen van den Berg is there to pick up the pieces, but I don't think Robert Hega has the pace to it, or has the speed to overtake on the straight. No, he doesn't. He gave it a good shot, but Mirko Bortolotti wins once again. Robert Heger with a smart strategy play becomes second. Jeroen van den Berg lost it in the pits. There's Jens Fiedler coming through. Ben Bunagen in 11th. Gustavo Xavier finished 8th. Dennis Uli Richter in P18. There is Danny Uli Richter. Well then, what a race that was. Stefano Pellegrino, last one to come across the line, and he has done so. Someone coming through the pit there like crazy. Right then, anyways, see what the result has to say, and then we'll go to the draw, and then we'll go into the wait for server 2. But of course, before we know what to wait for, we still have to draw. Mirko Bortolotti wins, of course, out of Robert Heger. A well-fought battle at the front of the field after a strategy masterclass once again by the Italian, and it was just not enough for Robert Heger. That speed that he had showed some potential. Van den Berg in P3, Maximilian Pelfort, Barry Jordanovsky 5th, Hugo Zasse 6th. Yannick Wonenberg 7th, 8th, Gustavo Xavier 9th, Ben Green and Jens Fiedler rounding off the top 10. And in 11th, it's Ben Buhnagel, Christian Ablas at 12th, Jan Lins, Christoph Steiner, Davy Oma, Jonas Greif, Ivan Ferrari, also in P17. Then Dennis Richter in 18th, 19th for Mikael Döllinger, and Stefano Pellegrino, the last of the finishers in P20. And then let's go and have a look at the draw for server 2. Yes, loud and clear, sir. Yep. Say go ahead.
So there's one missing. Sorry for that.
The Indy car's back in there.
Yeah. There you go. Those are the 5 options. Just do it like that. And these are the tracks. We just go through them in a minute. So I think we start as usual to selecting 2.
So, as always, 2 cars. There we go for the first one. Well then, the first car that will go into the final draw will be the Super Formula. Car that we've, of course, had in previous seasons.
But we haven't seen it for a while.
And the second car going into the final draw will be the LMP3. That's an interesting one. So then Super Formula and LMP3, that's for the final draw in terms of the cars. Of course, next on the list is the draw for the track.
Yeah, let's head over to the tracks. I'm just quickly gonna check if I think we need to remove Daytona.
Of course, Daytona, one that we've already been at this season.
Yeah, so we will select first the track. In case we select a track that doesn't have a star at the end, which means it's eligible for Super Formula, and the Super Formula gets drawn, we will have to draw the track again. Basically, we will then add the second one and do the final draw. But I think we're all set.
Yes, sir. Let's start with the first track.
Let's go.
Well then, first track going into the final draw for server 2 of tonight will be Laguna Seca. Second track for tonight. Please don't let it be American. Well, it will be. It'll be Long Beach, but two very interesting tracks, and I think two tracks definitely eligible for the Super Formula.
Not in case of Laguna Seca, so we will just leave it like that for the moment. So that was Long Beach, right?
Yes, Long Beach.
Right, so let's see what happens here first.
In both cases, two very difficult tracks. The one a bit more bumpy than the other. But we're gonna see, is it gonna be Laguna Seca or Long Beach? It will be Laguna Seca. So that means that if we do draw the Super Formula, we will have to draw the track again, or we'll just have to revert to Long Beach.
Yeah, if the Super Formula gets drawn, we will have to draw a second track to add to Long Beach. And then we will see if it's gonna be Long Beach or the second track. But let's first find out if it's gonna be Super Formula or LMP3. So those are the two options. In any case, it's gonna be a standing start. If it's gonna be the Super Formula for, just as a reminder, the Super Formula has a push to pass function that you should map on your steering wheel or somewhere where you can use it. It's a bit specific how it works, and you have a certain amount of seconds where you can activate it, and if you deactivate it, you need to wait for, I think, 90 seconds or something before you can use it again. So that's a bit complicated for the use of the push to pass in the race. For quali, it's not possible to use the push to pass, so you can press it, but you will not have the extra power. Okay, and another thing, if Super Formula gets drawn, please practice the standing starts, because it's quite easy, especially on cold tires, to spin the car at the start. And in case this happens and you create a crash, it's your responsibility. So make sure that you practice the standing starts on the Super Formula as well. Right. I think we are ready to select it. Let's see what's happening.
I would find it quite funny if you'd done this whole briefing and we're just going to draw LMP3. But it looks like it wasn't for nothing, because we will get the Super Formula. That also means, though, that we will have to draw one new track.
Correct. So that means Super Formula is gonna be the car for the second server, and now we need to add a second track to, what was it, Long Beach?
Yes.
Keep that one here. I'll need to open another one. Just do it over here. I need to re-import the tracks.
Just a heads up, be sure to take Daytona out.
Yes, will do. We will have to take them all out without...
Daytona Road in the middle.
Woods Kogan as well.
What we're doing now is just removing all the tracks that don't have a start, that are not eligible for the Super Formula anyways. So if we draw them, we would have to draw again. Might as well just exclude them from the draw. Bathurst, yeah, that's definitely not one where you want to go with the Super Formula, let's be honest. We're gonna have a 20-car pile-up at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, one last thing for the Super Formula race. There will be a mandatory tire change. So you have to do a mandatory tire change, and it's not allowed to pit on the last lap of the race. So you need to pit on the penultimate lap. That's the last chance to do the pit stop. And you need to change all 4 wheels, because the refueling is not possible in that car. So don't worry about fuel, but you need to do a mandatory pit stop, changing your tires at some stage. All right, so I think we are ready to select the second one.
Yes, we are. Let's see which track's going to be added to Long Beach. It'll be Interlagos. That's also an interesting track too. However, though, very different tracks, Mirko. Long Beach, bumpy, street circuit. Interlagos, of course, a track well known from the F1 calendar.
Okay, I just messed it up, so I just do it manually. Long Beach.
Well then, there we go.
Ready when you are.
Long Beach or Interlagos. Let's choose which one's going to be. Let's draw. Both would, in any case, be very interesting. It's going, however, to be Interlagos. We're going to Brazil.
Right, so Super Formula at Interlagos, server 2. The server will be up in a few minutes. Enjoy, have fun, and see you after the race or next week.